The arrival of reckoning. The vast orbital defense station of Nexera Prime buzzed with routine activity until the sensors detected an anomaly. First Officer Zexver squinted at the readings, his four eyes blinking in rapid succession as he processed the information. Commander Threll, we have an unidentified object emerging from fold space. Massive energy signature. It's enormous. Commander Threll, a veteran of the Nexeran Defense Force, strode to the monitoring station. Her scaled skin shifted from a calm blue to a concerned purple as she examined the readings herself. That can't be right, she muttered. The mass is nearly twice that of our largest dreadnought. Recalibrate the sensors. Already did, Commander. Zexver responded, his voice trembling. 3 times. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying the vast emptiness of space punctuated by stars and the distant gleam of Nexera's 3 moons. Then something emerged, a massive vessel of midnight black, absorbing the starlight around it. Angular and predatory, its hull was unmarked by insignia or identification, but bristling with what were unmistakably weapon ports. "By the ancestral light," whispered Commander Threll. "Alert High Command. Now." Within minutes, the orbital defense network of Nexera Prime, the crown jewel of the Galactic Concord's 12-system confederation, was on high alert. Defense platforms rotated into position, and interceptor squadrons scrambled from their hangars. In the Grand Chamber of Coordination, High Chancellor Valthex received the report with growing horror. A member of the ancient Nexeran species that had founded the Concorde, Valthex had never encountered a situation like this in his 3-century lifespan. Unknown vessel, approaching high orbit of Nexera Prime, reported Fleet Admiral Krex. No matching configuration in our database. It's not responding to hails on any frequency. What species? Demanded Valthex. Unknown, Chancellor. But the Admiral hesitated. Speak, Admiral. The energy readings, they suggest technology far beyond anything in the Concorde. Even the Vorathi Empire doesn't possess such capabilities. The mention of the Vorathi, the Concorde's ancient rivals, sent murmurs through the assembly of ministers and generals. "Show me," ordered Valthex. The central holographic projector flickered to life, displaying the intruding vessel in high detail. It hung in orbit like a predator, unmoving yet radiating menace. As they watched, weapon ports along its hull began to glow with a blue-white energy. "Are they preparing to fire?" Valthex asked, tension evident in his voice. "No, Chancellor," responded Krex. "It appears to be a power demonstration. They're showing us they could fire, but are choosing not to." Before Valthex could respond, the communications officer interrupted. "Chancellor, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel. They've bypassed our encryption protocols like they weren't even there." "On screen," ordered Valthex, straightening his ceremonial robes. The display shifted, and for the first time in recorded history, the leaders of the Galactic Concorde looked upon a human face. She was female, with dark skin and close-cropped silver hair that contrasted sharply with her relatively youthful features. Her uniform was midnight black like her vessel, adorned with silver insignia indicating rank and authority. But it was her eyes that captivated the assembled aliens, cold, hard, and filled with an ancient anger. "I am Admiral Helena Frost of the Earth Alliance warship Nemesis," she stated, her voice translated flawlessly by the Concorde systems. "Your planetary defense grid is currently targeted by weapons you cannot detect, using principles your science has not yet discovered. I am here to negotiate the terms of your surrender." Stunned silence filled the chamber before Valthex found his voice. "This is High Chancellor Valthex of the Galactic Concorde. We do not recognize any Earth alliance. You have entered sovereign Concorde space without authorization. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will be forced to respond with appropriate force." A smile, devoid of warmth, spread across Admiral Frost's face. "You misunderstand, Chancellor. This is not a negotiation between equals. To demonstrate." The transmission paused for a moment. On the tactical displays, officers watched in horror as 3 defense platforms, positioned at equidistant points around the planet, simultaneously exploded in silent bursts of fire and debris. Those platforms were destroyed by a weapon you didn't detect, fired from a range your sensors cannot comprehend, continued Frost. We could have targeted your cities instead. Remember that as we proceed. Valthex's scales had shifted to a pale gray, the Nexaran equivalent of losing all color from one's face. What do you want? He asked, his political mastery momentarily abandoned. Justice, replied Frost. 173 of your years ago, corporations operating under Concord protection and licensing discovered Earth. Finding a pre-FTL civilization with abundant natural resources, they initiated what your regulatory files termed resource extraction from pre-civilized worlds. Do you know what we called it? The question hung in the air. We called it the Great Devastation. Nexaran corporations, with the implicit approval of your government, strip-mined our continents, drained our oceans, and killed over 2 billion humans who resisted. Murmurs of disbelief spread through the chamber. Many of the younger officials looked genuinely shocked, while the older ones exchanged knowing glances. That's impossible, stammered Valthex. Humans were classified as primitive pre-spaceflight. You couldn't have developed this level of technology in less than 2 centuries. When faced with extinction, Chancellor, species tend to evolve rapidly. You left us broken, but not destroyed. You left us in rage, but not defeated. And most importantly, Frost leaned forward, her eyes burning with intensity. You left us alone to rebuild in secret, believing we were no threat. Krex stepped forward, his military bearing reasserting itself. If what you say is true, why wait until now? Why not seek reparations through diplomatic channels? Frost's laugh was bitter. We tried. For 50 years after the corporations left, we sent transmissions into space begging for help, for acknowledgement, for justice. Your automated systems classified them as primitive communications of no significance and archived them without review. Valthex's advisors were frantically consulting data terminals, and one approached to whisper in his ear. The Chancellor's eyes widened. She's right, he muttered. The historical records confirm corporate exploitation of Sol 3, of Earth, approximately 170 standard cycles ago. The planet was left classified as resource depleted, remaining population non-viable. Frost continued, her voice steady. Here are our terms. The Concord will acknowledge its crimes against humanity. You will provide restitution in the form of technology, resources, and territorial concessions. And you will recognize the Earth Alliance as a sovereign power with all the rights and protections thereof. And if we refuse, ask Valthex, already knowing the answer. Then we demonstrate the full capabilities of the Nemesis, and you discover whether your civilization survives the lesson. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Fleet Admiral Krex approached the Chancellor. We have 97 vessels in system, and can recall another 200 within 6 hours. We outmatched them in numbers. Did you not see what just happened? Interrupted Valthex. They destroyed 3 defense platforms simultaneously, without any detected weapon signature. This isn't about numbers, Admiral. Then what do we do? Valthex stared at the holographic image of the Nemesis, its black hull seeming to absorb not just light but hope itself. We negotiate, and we pray to the ancestors that humanity's appetite for vengeance can be satisfied with something less than our extinction. In the command center of the Nemesis, Admiral Frost watched the frantic activity on Nexera Prime with grim satisfaction. Her executive officer, Commander Thomas Chen, stood at her side. They're mobilizing their fleet, Chen reported. Defensive formation around the capital. As expected, replied Frost. They need to save face while they process our demands. Do you think they'll agree? Frost's eyes hardened. They'll agree because they have no choice. Their weapons can't penetrate our shields, and they know it. More importantly, They know we know it. And the greater mission? Asked Chen quietly. Proceeds as planned. The Concorde is just one piece on the board. Once they're handled, we move against the real enemy. Chen nodded and returned to his station, leaving Frost alone with her thoughts. She gazed at the beautiful blue-green world of Nexera Prime below, so reminiscent of what Earth had once been. The irony wasn't lost on her, that the species that had destroyed humanity's homeworld had created such a paradise for themselves. Not for much longer, she whispered. The reckoning has only just begun. The price of arrogance. The emergency session of the Concorde Security Council stretched into its 6th hour. Representatives from all 12 member systems argued bitterly, their unity fracturing under the pressure of humanity's sudden appearance. We should strike now, while they believe we're considering their demands, insisted General Xorak of the militant Brevery Collective. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked as he gestured emphatically. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot withstand our combined fleet. Did you not see what happened to our defense platforms? Countered Ambassador Lirith of the Aelori Federation, her luminescent skin pulsing with agitation. They possess technology that renders our defenses obsolete. High Chancellor Valthex listened to the debate with growing weariness. The intelligence reports compiled over the last several hours painted a disturbing picture. Historical records confirmed Admiral Frost's claims about the exploitation of Earth, though the documents had been buried under layers of corporate confidentiality agreements and regulatory exemptions. Enough, Valthex finally interrupted. We face an enemy of unknown capability, motivated by legitimate grievances against our civilization. Before we decide on military action, I believe we should at least attempt negotiation. Negotiation from a position of weakness is surrender by another name, growled General Xorak. Perhaps, conceded Valthex, but I would rather risk my pride than our people. Despite the Chancellor's words, the Brevery General had already set his own plan in motion. As the Council debated, a strike force of 30 stealth corvettes maneuvered into position behind Nexera's largest moon. Equipped with the Concorde's most advanced cloaking technology, they prepared to launch a surprise attack on the human vessel. Aboard the Nemesis, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Maya Wong monitored her displays with practiced calm. Admiral, detecting 30 Corvette-class vessels attempting to conceal themselves behind Nexera II. Their cloaking technology is impressive. For them. Admiral Frost nodded, unsurprised. Status of our countermeasures. Fully charged and targeting solutions locked, Wong replied. Hold fire until they commit themselves, ordered Frost. Let them throw the first punch. She opened a channel to the Concorde leadership. Chancellor Valthex, I notice you've positioned attack vessels behind your third moon. I presume this is simply a precautionary measure and not an act of aggression. On Nexera Prime, Valthex's blood ran cold. He turned to his military advisors, who appeared equally shocked. We issued no such orders, he began, before a subordinate whispered urgently in his ear. Valthex's scales darkened with anger. General Xorak, explain yourself. The Brevery General stood defiant. I took the initiative to protect our sovereignty. The human vessel will be disabled, not destroyed. Then we can dictate terms from a position of strength. You fool, hissed Valthex. You've. Too late, interrupted Admiral Frost's voice over the communication channel. Your vessels have powered weapons and are on attack vectors. We will respond accordingly. Before Valthex could protest further, the tactical displays exploded with activity. The Brevery corvettes had launched their attack, firing high-yield plasma torpedoes at the Nemesis. For a moment, it seemed the human vessel was doomed as dozens of deadly projectiles converged on its position. Then something impossible happened. The torpedoes simply vanished. One moment they existed, the next they were gone, as if reality itself had swallowed them. What just happened? Demanded Valthex. Before anyone could answer, new alerts sounded. One by one, the Brevery corvettes began to drift, their engines and weapons systems offline, life support barely functioning. Admiral Frost's face reappeared on the main screen, her expression cold. Your attack force has been neutralized without casualties. Their vessels have been temporarily disabled. They have approximately 6 hours of life support remaining. I suggest you dispatch rescue ships immediately. How? How did you? Stammered Valthex. Phase shift technology, replied Frost matter-of-factly. Your torpedoes were shifted slightly out of normal spacetime. Your vessels were subjected to a targeted electromagnetic pulse that our systems designed specifically for your technology. She paused. This was merely a demonstration. Had we wished it, those ships and everyone aboard them would be atoms now. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Now, continued Frost, shall we discuss terms like civilized beings, or would you prefer another demonstration? 12 hours later, representatives from the Concorde boarded the Nemesis for formal negotiations. The human vessel's interior was as impressive as its exterior, a marvel of engineering that made the Concorde's most advanced ships seem primitive by comparison. The delegation was led through sleek corridors by silent, professional human officers to a conference room where Admiral Frost awaited. She stood as they entered, a courtesy that somewhat eased the tension. Chancellor Valthex, she greeted. Welcome aboard the Nemesis. Valthex nodded stiffly. Admiral Frost, I must convey our sincere regret for General Tsorek's unauthorized action. Noted, replied Frost. Though I suspect he was merely acting on what many in your council desired but lacked the courage to order directly. The Chancellor didn't deny it. We have reviewed your demands and are prepared to discuss terms. Excellent. But first, I believe a history lesson is in order. Frost gestured, and the room darkened. Holographic images appeared, showing Earth as it once was, a beautiful blue planet with vast oceans and green continents. Then the images change, showing massive Concorde harvester ships descending, industrial complexes threading like cancers across the landscape, oceans receding, forests burning, and humans, so many humans, fighting desperately against mechanized extraction forces only to be cut down. For 20 years, narrated Frost, her voice tight with controlled emotion, your corporations systematically destroyed our world. When they finally left, this is what remained. The image shifted to show Earth as it became, a gray wasteland, its atmosphere choked with dust, its oceans reduced to toxic pools, its surviving population huddled in underground shelters. 4 billion humans died, Chancellor. Another 2 billion in the decades that followed as we struggled to survive on a dying world. The corporations that did this reported record profits that year. Your government collected substantial tax revenue. Life in the Concorde continued unchanged while our world died. Valthex and his delegation watched in horrified silence. Yet we survived, continued Frost as the images changed again, showing humans rebuilding, constructing vast underground cities, developing new technologies. We adapted, we evolved, and we remembered. The final images showed human ships, first small, then increasingly sophisticated, venturing into the solar system and beyond. For the past century, we have rebuilt in secret. We established colonies on worlds your surveys dismissed as uninhabitable. We developed technologies your scientists considered theoretical. And we studied you, your strengths, your weaknesses, your blind spots. The lights returned to normal, and Frost faced the delegation directly. The Nemesis is not our only vessel, Chancellor. It is merely the first we have chosen to reveal. The Earth Alliance currently comprises 27 star systems and over 40 populated worlds. Our total fleet strength exceeds 200 capital ships of this class or larger. The claim sent shockwaves through the delegation. If true, it meant humans possessed the largest and most advanced military force in known space. That's impossible, stammered one of Valthex's advisors. We would have detected such activity. Would you? Asked Frost with a thin smile. Your deep space monitoring network has been compromised for decades. Certain sensor data has been selectively filtered before reaching your analysts. You saw what we wanted you to see. Why reveal yourselves now? Asked Valthex, sensing there was more to this confrontation than simple revenge. Frost's expression darkened. Because the galaxy faces a threat greater than either of our civilizations. While you've been complacent in your technological superiority, and we've been rebuilding in the shadows, something has been stirring in the void between spiral arms. She activated another holographic display, showing strange biomechanical constructs moving through deep space. We call them the Harvesters. They seem to share your Concord's philosophy about resource extraction, but they don't discriminate between developed and undeveloped worlds. They simply take what they want and leave devastation in their wake. We've heard rumors, admitted Valthex reluctantly. Lost colonies on the outer rim. But our investigations found nothing conclusive. Because they're methodical and they're patient, replied Frost. But they're coming. Our intelligence suggests they'll reach Concord space within 5 years. When they do, you'll face the same choice we did. Adapt or perish. Understanding dawned on Valthex, so this demonstration, these demands, are partly about justice, yes, confirmed Frost. The dead of Earth deserve that much. But they're also about forcing the Concord to recognize reality. Your civilization has grown complacent, Chancellor. Your technology has stagnated. You've become vulnerable. And you propose what, exactly? That we submit to human authority to save ourselves. I propose an alliance, said Frost. One built on honest recognition of past wrongs and future threats. The Concord has resources and established infrastructure that we could use. Humanity has technological innovation and military capability that you need. Together, we might stand a chance. And if we refuse, Frost's expression hardened. Then we'll take what we need by force, establish a defensive perimeter around human-controlled space, and leave the Concord to face the Harvesters alone. I suspect your civilization would not survive the encounter. Valthex considered her words carefully. The choice before him was clear. Accept humanity as equals and acknowledge the Concord's past crimes, or face extinction, either at human hands now or alien hands later. You speak of justice, Admiral, he said finally. Would your justice be satisfied with anything less than our complete subjugation? Justice would demand far more than I'm asking, Chancellor, replied Frost. But survival requires compromise. The dead of Earth cannot be brought back. Their world cannot be restored. But their descendants can help ensure that what happened to them never happens again, to any species. For the first time, Valthex saw beyond the cold exterior of the human admiral to the deeper motivation driving her actions. This wasn't merely about revenge. It was about reshaping the galaxy to prevent future atrocities. I believe, he said carefully, that we can reach an accommodation. 3 days later, the Treaty of Nexara was signed. The Concord formally acknowledged its role in Earth's devastation and agreed to substantial reparations. Humanity revealed more of its technological advances and established diplomatic relations with all Concord worlds. As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Frost stood on the observation deck of the Nemesis, watching the lights of Nexara Prime below. Commander Chen joined her in silent contemplation. Phase 1 complete, said Frost quietly. The Concord has been humbled but not broken. And Phase 2, asked Chen, begins immediately. We have 5 years to prepare a unified defense against the Harvesters. It won't be easy. Centuries of mistrust don't disappear with a single treaty. Do you think they'll honor the agreement? Frost's gaze remained fixed on the alien world below. Some will, others won't, but they all understand the new reality of the galaxy. Humanity has returned from the brink of extinction, and we will never again be victims. As the Nemesis prepared to depart Nexara orbit, communications from across the Concord reported sightings of additional human vessels emerging from stealth. The message was clear. The humans had been watching, waiting, and preparing for generations. The galaxy would never be the same again.